All right, so we're back. We're here with Zak Baris. Zak, welcome to the program on the Unhappy Hour here with the New American Media. I want to kind of just jump right into Kevin Love. He wrote an article today. I think it was a very important article, not just for sports fans, but I think people in general. Can you kind of walk us through what Kevin Love did, how he released it, and his motivation behind doing so to get things started?
So he released it on the Players Tribune. The incident first happened November 5th, he said in the article. Basically had a panic attack in the middle of the game. It was at the beginning of the season. I don't think things were going well. I think, he takes a lot of public heat, obviously, and I think he reads this out there. I mean, if you notice some of the stuff that Barstool gives him, it's a lot. He takes a lot of heat for being the third wheel in Cleveland, which he's been since he got here. But, he's got a championship. But, I think he's dealt with a lot. I think he was the target this year. Now, surrounding a lot of the drama with the Cavs, I think he was a heavy target. When people had singled him out, I don't think they had realized what he had gone through. And obviously, mental health is no joke. We've witnessed it, on many, many different levels within, obviously with school shootings taking place, with people killing themselves. It is not easy to deal with. Frankly, a lot of us have had mental health issues. I mean, granted, I've suffered from anxiety. I didn't know it until, I've had some panic attacks in the past, but wasn't diagnosed with it until last June. And, I started taking medication for it, and it's helped me a great deal. If I would have had that when I was 19, 20, would it have probably helped me a lot more? Yes. But unfortunately, I didn't, and it's good that he got it diagnosed. It definitely takes a toll on you. I mean, I know from personal experience, I don't know exactly what Kevin went through. I know he was very open about it, but, especially with the loss of his grandma, but, I'm sure there were some other factors that led to this, whether it's cyberbullying, just bullying in general, reading what people say about you, it takes its toll and it hurts.
I think he was alluding to some sort of family thing.
His grandma.
I see. The way I read it was that I thought those were maybe two different issues. That was just one part of a bigger story.
Everything, I think it just was, it was cumulative. I think everything just led up to the point where it had finally just caused him a lot of stress. You start to, and one of the things with anxiety and what causes panic attacks is obsession. And, when you start to obsess over things and, how you could have handled this differently, it takes its toll on you.
Right. And that's not just something that professional athletes are going through. It's something that humans are going through.
Yeah, this is not something that's just, that's just coming up. It's something that's very common in today's world. And seeing a therapist, is nothing embarrassing. Since I moved back to Cleveland, I started seeing a therapist back in 2013 when I moved back to Cleveland. It's very healthy to do something like that. It's strong for the mind. It gives you the ability to talk to someone without judgment. Unlike what your parents might not understand, when I chose last June to get medication for my anxiety, it was not without, my mom and my sister, who are generally very supportive of whatever I do, were not very supportive of it. They're like, well, we think you could have just worked it out, before you had to get medicated. I said, it was to the point where I really just couldn't anymore. I couldn't handle myself. I wasn't thinking properly. It was getting the best of me. And I wasn't handling myself in the right situation, so I got medicated. After 6 weeks, and the medication really works, it basically, it's like a miracle work. It does miracle work on you. It's, it doesn't work for everyone, but for me it did. It allowed me to get and focus on my work. It allowed me not to care about such small little things. I didn't worry about what people said anymore. Just nothing bothered me anymore. And it was nice to have that. I didn't sit there, stressing out over relationships anymore. It allowed me, when I broke up with my girlfriend, just to basically split with no problem, didn't even worry about it, didn't panic about the situation. It has different effects on everyone, whether you're on Lexapro, Zoloft, whatever you're on. I don't know if Kevin is medicated. I don't know if he is or not. But seeing a therapist definitely helps, and being able to talk out your problems with something and to have someone there to vent to always helps. And it's tough, and especially in an NBA locker room, you might not be able to talk to people. People might not always be generally so supportive.
Well,
of someone that has mental health issues.
Yeah, well, I want to bring up some of that because, I mean, we got two things. The Demar Derozan thing I want to get to as well because maybe he started...
Also speaking on this too, I mean, look at this. Maybe if Johnny Manziel's, mental health issues were diagnosed, which I thought was fairly obvious he had them when the Browns drafted him, but obviously it went unnoticed. And if someone could have helped him then, there's a chance he'd still be in the NFL, and his problem could have been diagnosed and he could have been properly treated. Now, it also depends. The person has to want to be treated, too.
Right.
They're not going to just put you on a psychiatric hold for more than 2 weeks. It's against the law, really, unless you commit a crime. Unfortunately, Johnny's career spiraled out of control. And because of that, will he ever be back in the NFL? I don't think he'll be back in the NFL because of what happened with the Browns. I mean, he's too much of a liability. Imagine having your franchise quarterback go through something like that, where he spirals out of control, lies to the team, goes to Las Vegas, and just lies about everything he does. Getting in a fight down in the lobby at the Nines, throwing up at the vault, the night before a game. I mean, there were just too many issues with him, and his partying was out of control. But it all started because he had poor mental health and he wasn't treated. And DeMar Derozan, you see these guys in the NBA who it's so common nowadays to have mental health issues. And especially social media can be the cause of a lot of it too. And, reading about yourself, seeing that, how people put you down, it's tough. It's not easy to deal with. And everybody, you grow up in different situations, you have different parental situations. Nobody should ever try to judge someone based on their mental health. It's not, I have a friend who lost both of his parents at an early age, and I remember people were sitting there trying to go, oh, well, he should be doing this, he should be doing this. They go, you didn't lose both of your parents at an early age, while you were in your teens due to, horrible, tragic circumstances. I said, you can't sit there and judge based on how someone else lives their life and how they behave. You need to sit there and worry about yourself and not someone else.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest cause. And I think it's sitting there, just because I have anxiety issues doesn't mean my sister does, and nor does she understand. I mean, it's simple psychology when you look at it. Everybody comes into this world, they're treated differently, they have their own issues. It's not, I don't even find it embarrassing anymore. My mom, when I started telling people that I was taking Lexapro, my mom said, don't tell people that, it's embarrassing. I said, I don't care. I said, frankly, it's not a big deal to me. I'm glad it got diagnosed. It's not like I suffered through severe depression. I just had severe anxiety for a while. Right. And it really helped my problem.
It's interesting hearing you talk about family and, older generations being embarrassed by it. There's some overlap with like when someone comes out as gay to their family and it's like maybe their parents or grandparents are embarrassed and actively tell them, keep this to yourself, or I don't want to hear it. And I think there's a lot of overlap between like maybe the grandparent generation and maybe the parents is the bridge to just talking about what is really happening in this world and what's really going on.
Yeah.
I'm reading this article here, and it says DeMar Derozan acknowledged last month, the Toronto Raptors guard, he acknowledged that he suffers from depression, and Love said that was part of his inspiration to open up about his own mental health. What you were saying, the quote here, it says, it really makes you think about how we're all walking around with experiences and struggles, all kinds of things, and we sometimes think we're the only ones going through them, Love wrote. The reality is that we probably have a lot in common with what our friends and colleagues and neighbors are dealing with. Mental health is an invisible thing, but it touches all of us at some point or another. It's part of life. Like DeMar said, you never know what the person is going through. I think this is when Laura Ingraham, responds to LeBron James and says, someone said, just shut up and dribble. And it was a take on one of her books, just shut up and do this or whatever. I get what she's saying. It gets really annoying with politics, and, I get it. Half the country's one way, half the country's another way. I understand. But when an athlete can bring up an issue like this, mental health, a health issue, non-political at all, this is really a time where I'm so happy that, Kevin Love and DeMar Derozan didn't just shut up and dribble, because they're bringing a lot of attention to this. I think it's really important, Zach.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you look at these people now, and it's especially on social media when these people have when athletes have such large followings. they're able to voice their opinion. That's the point of social media.
Right.
It doesn't matter. LeBron's not a politician. However, he has the right to his own opinion just as much as you or I do. Brian, like I said, I'm not involved in politics. My focus is in real estate. But that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to discuss politics when I want to. That's the thing is, we all have the right to vote. We are all able to express our own opinion. Whether you like his opinion or not, he has the right to do it. And he has the right to say what he wants. I don't think what he said was hurtful to anyone. I mean, he has his choice to say whatever he wants. Just like, there are people out there. It definitely helps to voice your opinion, but it gets to a point where you need to be able to say what you want and voice your opinion, but there's, sometimes there's a lot of kickback, because of LeBron opening up and saying what he said, there's a lot of kickback, and people are going to sit there and they're going to mock and they're going to ridicule Kevin Love for what he said, and not saying mental issues, because there are people who just don't understand. That's why I'm very happy that Kevin spoke out, that DeMar DeRozan spoke out, that these people spoke out, and, it's definitely a positive. It's definitely, it creates awareness, and I think that's the biggest thing. You have to create awareness about a problem or about an issue in order to, say, okay, well, I guess I'm not the only one who has an issue. I found out that that most of my friends suffer through anxiety or depression as well. People that I would have never known that had it. They're like, oh, yeah, you're on Lexapro? Dude, I've been on it for 2 years. And I'm like, really? Saying this, and people are like, yeah, I've been on it for a couple of years now. I'm an attorney. I stress out. It's this. People have issues. Everybody has their own issues. Nobody's perfect.
Absolutely. I have a psychology degree. I've seen, I can't even tell you how many therapists I've seen over the years. And, a lot of times you just need somebody else to listen. And in the process of you explaining wherever your mind goes, sometimes it's just a stream of consciousness thing. You can spend a whole session talking about nonsense if you feel like it. Maybe that's where your mind is at. But, I hope that we're getting to the place in this country where we're going to take this seriously. You can't look at a homeless epidemic and possibly think that the people out there are all mentally healthy. There's a lot of people that are being failed by a system that is really trying to do way too much, when I think the main thing we can hopefully agree on is that there's some sort of mental health that we need to be providing for the most at-risk people who cannot take care of themselves. And there's a lot of people that have their act together, working jobs and, all areas of life. Those people need help too. So if this conversation with DeMar DeRozan to Kevin Love now talking about his conversations with Channing Frye, being a sounding board, we look at Junior Seau. He was going through a whole bunch of stuff, the great Chargers linebacker, from CTEs, the chronic traumatic encephalopathy, from repeated brain bruises. He shot himself and killed himself in his heart so that they could study his brain. There's a lot of things that athletes are going through, and sometimes their situations can translate and get out to the general public in a way that, maybe social media is at the root of this. Maybe the megaphone for people's personal opinions is louder and more pointed and more important than it's ever been before. So I'm really good.
What Junior Seau did was, Junior was really, that was when we started realizing, that would really open up the floodgates about CTE. He shot himself in the heart so his brain could be studied, and now you're seeing that a lot more often when athletes commit suicide. They've been preserving their brains because they know they have a problem. They know they're suffering through severe depression. They know something's wrong. There's nothing they can do to control it. And, we're starting to see more and more. It's a guy like Aldon Smith, who keeps having problems with the law, who just got arrested again today, finally turned himself in. Obviously, he has some mental health issues that have gone untreated. He suffered from addiction. I mean, it's one step after another. There needs to be a proper support network in place from these leagues, too, by supplying, therapists for these athletes. And, when an athlete has a drug problem, don't kick him to the curb like, obviously, like Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon has had so many problems, an insurmountable amount of problems. We don't know what the cause of it is. He grew up dealing drugs. He grew up to get by. And he did, and he obviously suffered from a severe drinking problem, severe drug problem, severe mental health issues. And he even said when the league kicked him to the curb, it doesn't allow the team to come and help him.
It's horrible.
I agree that they should, that they should be suspended during it, but they should also have treatment from the NFL at that point. You shouldn't have to seek their. These guys are going through a lot, and something that we cannot understand because we're not in their shoes. We might have gone through something similar, but we haven't gone through exactly what these guys have gone through. Which is why people can say what they want about Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon, I hope he turns his career around, and I hope he has a long career and he's in the league for the next 10 years. I really hope so.
On the Browns.
Odds are, though, if you take what he's gone through so far, odds are not in his favor. Odds say that he would probably relapse. I hope the odds are wrong. I hope that he has a long, successful career. And, and that he lives a long life, and he's able to support his daughter, who he just had. And, it's not funny to mock these guys. People used to think it was, Josh Gordon just, he had one sip of alcohol and he got kicked out of the league. That wasn't the case at all. I mean, you saw his article in the Players Tribune that came out, or it was Uninterrupted, I think it was. I think it was Uninterrupted, where he came out and he basically just said, I was doing cocaine before games. I was high. I was drunk before games. You just think, wow, that guy went and had a 200-yard performance while he was high. But he obviously suffered through something that none of us have gone through. We didn't grow up like he had. We didn't grow up with the issues that he had. And so it's hard to relate to that. And it's hard to judge a guy because you don't know how he grew up, and he might not. And obviously he did not have the support network in place to help him. Finally, it seems like he's gotten the help he needs, and he sought it out. But it still isn't easy.
Right. Well, Zach, I got to get running here. We're going to have to cut today's show a little bit short. But what I did want to also touch on is if we're okay wrapping this up and pivoting, you and I are both talking openly about our mental health, going and seeing therapists, being on meds. Is there anything you feel like we need to finish wrapping up the bookend on this?
No, I think that's all. I think we do a sports show later.
Okay, let me ask you a super quick question. I want to talk about Larry Nance and the Cavs' record in general.
Okay.
How happy are you seeing Larry Nance put up big numbers? Do you think it's something that can continue?
It's great. The Cavaliers need something like that. It's huge. It's huge for him. What he did last night is great. It'll benefit them greatly. I think he needs to stay in the starting lineup even when Kevin Love comes back. And Kevin should be the starting center. Let Larry Nance at power forward. And then what you do is you bring LeBron back down to the 3. It leaves a lot of energy in the starting lineup. It allows them to spread the floor. I just think Tristan Thompson at this point, he's such a liability on the defensive end. They're so much better without him. But at the same point, was signing Tristan a mistake? No, it wasn't. The Cavaliers wouldn't have won the finals without him. It's something we've done over 10 different times, and it's not like it would have created any cap space by getting rid of him. The Cavaliers are so far in the luxury tax, it doesn't really matter. So is he just there as an extra body? Yes. But, I think that Tristan's, I think playing 82 games a year and playing such a physical style of play, with the offensive movement is just, I think he's just collapsed. But I think Larry Nance, it's nice to get a fresh body in there who's only a year younger than Tristan, but has way less miles. It's like having a car, it's like keeping a Porsche in the garage and putting out 2,000-3,000 miles a year than, taking out your Toyota Camry or taking whatever and putting on 15,000 to 25,000 miles a year.
Right.
You're going to run it into the ground quicker.
Well, that was the big knock on Tom Thibodeau with the Cubs.
Tristan's Toyota Camry. I'm just saying, when you go and pile the miles on a car, it's not going to last as long.
Well, he was reliable for a while, and I also heard that Toyota Camrys, they also suffer from a Kardashian curse. Something about recalls. I don't know. No, I mean, it just is interesting that Tristan starts going with the Kardashians, and now he's injured all the time, and now we're looking at him as a liability, whereas we used to be happy with him. And anyway, it's interesting how this world works. I think let me do this real quick. I want to say hi to Ed, hi to Justin, hi to Carl, hi to Tim, hi to Mike, hi to Dwayne, hi to Jason, Kyle, Tim, everybody else in here. And hello to Ed Wilson. He wanted to chime in on what we were talking about, the last topic. He said, "What's up? Mental health. I know a lot about it." He said, "It's hard to admit that you need help." And that's why we're having the conversations. If normal people can talk about it, maybe we can encourage somebody else to talk about it and get the help that we need. So, Anyway, back to Larry Nance. Does this change your view of the Kyrie trade? I know we're only a couple games in.
Nothing changes my view right now until the playoffs come and we see how far the Celtics go and we see what happens and we see what the Cavaliers do with that pick and we see what LeBron does in free agency. I will not have an answer on that for a while.
All right, that's fair. Is there anything else you want to talk about the Cavs record? It's kind of so-so.
That's about it. I actually have to get going. I got to hop on a work call.
All right, you do.
Brian, let's chat later this week and catch up.
All right, you do your thing. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate your time, buddy. All right, so thank you guys for watching. We all kind of have a few things to do. It was kind of a last-minute show idea because the news just came out with what Kevin Love talked about. Really, LeBron James on Twitter, he says, "You're even more powerful now than ever before." At Kevin Love, salute and respect, brother. And then this, and then this, and then this. So, yeah, that's pretty fantastic. I really like that Kevin Love decided to have this conversation. I think it's important, and I'm really happy. Psychology degree. I've studied this stuff for a while. I did not go into practice, so I'm not claiming to be an expert in any way other than I've spent a lot of time thinking about this stuff and working on myself. So thanks to Kevin Love for talking about that. You can have any type of job and be suffering through panic attacks and depression and anxiety, and it affects a lot of people. I mean, look around the 20 people closest to you. How many of them are in this camp somewhere? I would say there's probably quite a few. And maybe it's time in 2018 that we just deal with it. We talk about it. We get some help. We reallocate some resources and not attach some sort of silly stigma. If something is, it just is. It doesn't matter why it is. It matters why when you start digging into it and peeling the layers of the onion back. You want to find out why the things that are happening. But it doesn't do any good to talk about, well, it's not relevant because, or yeah, we shouldn't really spend time on it because. No, it's very important. From Johnny Manziel to Junior Seau to Josh Gordon to Demar Derozan to Kevin Love. Look, you could probably throw hundreds of names out there. So if this conversation helps one person, I'm pretty happy about it. So thank you very much for watching. Ed's saying, I wish I could have come in before so I could have said more. Ed, I'll tell you what, I'm going to post this video on our YouTube channel. I'll put it up on TheNewAmericanMedia.com. Maybe I'll put it on TheNewAmericanMedia.com, but definitely on the YouTube channel. Leave your comments on the YouTube channel. He's saying as a veteran, it's hard to admit that you need help. You know, this is something grown-ass men can talk about. It's mental health, and yeah, it's something I was going to mention to Zach, and I didn't have the opportunity to get to because we were running so short, was, you know, talking about our returning servicemen and women in the armed forces. You want to talk about a group of people that are struggling with a lot of pain and internal stuff. They're struggling. They got a lot of movies playing on repeat in their heads. They've seen some stuff. They've done some stuff. They've been through some stuff that you just don't understand. So I really hope our country can take this a little bit more seriously moving forward, and thank you to Kevin Love. So thank you to Ed. Thank you to everybody else who joined us on Facebook Live. Thank you for watching After the Fact. My name's Brian Engelman. This is the Unhappy Hour on The New American Media, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace.